tudo sobre o milagre do deputado.
Mas seu tumor não está mais aí. E esse povo todo aí fora? Quero que você mande eles embora.
Eu sei que tem muita gente aqui precisando de ajuda.
Todo mundo falando disso, a cidade não fala de outra coisa.
Por que o senhor curou minha irmã e não me cura?
Não sou eu que curo, filho. É o careca.
Pede pra ele me curar, pai.
O senhor já sente a presença do Dr. Fritz?
José, você não pode dar ouvido a essas vozes, só vai piorar.
Não quero deixar a Lete e os meninos.
Por que a gente não pode ter uma vida normal? Zezé é um homem bom. O coração dele é bom.
Eu já disse, eu não sou médico, não. O médico é o Dr. Fritz. Longe de mim querer ganhar dinheiro em cima de quem tá doente.
Nem lembro a última vez que eu vi televisão assim com o senhor.
Não vi meus filhos crescerem porque eu tava trabalhando pra você.
Aceita. Essa é sua missão.
Foi você. Mas não parecia você, entende?
Eu não aceitei missão nenhuma!
Você tem que confiar em Deus.
Você casou com um homem e acabou com o outro. Mais da metade do tempo não sou eu que tô aqui, é o careca.
Tá cheio hoje, viu?
Vamos começar o nosso trabalho.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the United States Spiritist Federation, a member of the International Spiritist Council, I would like to welcome all of you who is watching live tonight from many different parts of the world. My name is Tanya Schwartz, and I'm representing the United States Spiritist Federation that I serve currently as the vice president. And also I'm talking to you from Texas, representing our local group here called Kardec Spiritist Group of Austin. Soon we'll be introducing JUSSARA KORNGOLD and Peter Hayes from different areas of the United States. And that is the country that today is in charge of bringing and sharing some teachings of the Medium's book, or that is contained in the Medium's book. The International Spiritist Council is celebrating throughout 2021 the 160th anniversary of the publication of the Medium's book by Allan Kardec. This live is part of this year-long campaign promoted by the International Spiritist Council and counting with the participation and support of the 22 countries that are members of this organization. But it's important to say that this celebration is for all the Spiritists all over the world and the Spiritist movement as a whole. This campaign started the first day of this year of 2021, and it has been broadcast in several media by the International Spiritist Council. And you probably have seen in Instagram and YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, all the videos that have been posted with different contents of the Medium's book in several languages. And announcing events such as this today, which is part of 22 bi-weekly lives with the studies about the Medium's book. So many opportunities for us to study and learn about the Medium's book. And this campaign has also been announcing a special 2-day commemorative event that will happen on March 27th and 28th, or already end of this month. And we'll talk about 2 different themes in 6 different languages. So all the information about all the events, all these posts are in the website of the International Spiritist Council. You can go and check it out. But now back to our today's talk. Make sure to send questions throughout this presentation, because right after we're going to have a session of questions and answers. So there will be an opportunity to interact. This will be the 3rd live presentation of this series brought by JUSSARA KORNGOLD, who will talk about methodology and theories of the Spiritist manifestations. But before we turn it over to JUSSARA, let's start by thanking God and the good spirits for their inspiration during this talk by calling Peter Hayes, an active member of the Spiritist Center Love and Light in Newark, New Jersey. Peter will be saying our opening prayer. Hi, Peter. Thanks. You're in mute.
Pardon me. Hi, Tanya. How are you?
Okay, thank you. Very nice that we're joining us. So now it's you with us doing the initial prayer.
Okay, thank you. Let us close our eyes if we're in a place where we can do so. Dear God, dear Master Jesus, our dear beloved mentors, we are thankful for your presence, and we ask that you bless this presentation. Please bless all of us, help all of us each and every day to navigate the journeys that we are on. May your peace, your love, your serenity, and your compassion spread everywhere to all of humanity. May each and every one of us be connected to your healing energy. Please bless this time that we are in, and may all of us do our best each and every day to get through this period to the best of our abilities. Please bless all of our brothers and sisters who are in need. We thank you, dear God. We thank you, Master Jesus, and we thank you, our dear beloved mentors, for your love and your support. Amen.
Before we go to our talk, let me introduce JUSSARA KORNGOLD. JUSSARA KORNGOLD is currently the General Secretary of the International Spiritist Council, the President of the United States Spiritist Federation. She's the founder and President of the Spiritist Group of New York and the Spiritist Alliance for Books. JUSSARA is fluent in Portuguese, English, French, and Spanish. She's an international speaker, a published author, and a translator. Mrs. KORNGOLD works for Brazil Child Health as its main executive. Hi, JUSSARA. Nice seeing you here with us.
Hi, Tanya. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. And it is really special for all of us to be here today because we are celebrating Kardec and his accomplishments. We are talking about, especially this year, about the 160th anniversary of the Medium's book, of the launching of the Medium's book, which is completely essential for all of us who want to understand a little more about the communication, the connection we may have with both sides of life. And today, this is going to be our third live. The first one was presented by Divaldo when he gave an introduction about the Medium's book, about Kardec. The second one, we had our dear friend from Guatemala, Dr. Edwin Bravo. And today we have from the US, myself presenting to you chapters 3 and 4. And of course, we are talking here about just giving you a taste about those chapters, because those, all the chapters that we have on the Medium's book are very deep. There is so much for us to learn, the ideas for us to grasp and to expand and to be able to fully understand. So it requires a much more profound engagement in terms of studying. But we are going to bring some highlights of those chapters. The first chapter, that is chapter 3, talks about methodology, and the chapter 4 that talks about theories. So basically, in those chapters, after the first 2 chapters, when Kardec starts explaining about the spirits, the existence of spirits, how can we reason about all that, giving us the difference between supernatural and how we can or not believe in the spiritist phenomena. Now he comes trying to provide us with more profound analysis on how can we distinguish among the theories that are presented, and what kind of methodology we have to use. So he started by saying that the Spiritism is a whole science and a whole philosophy. So in this sense, considering that it is a whole science and a whole philosophy, Kardec advises us that if we really seriously wish to know Spiritism, we first have to commit ourselves to serious study. We cannot understand about Spiritism, we cannot have a knowledge with just a superficial glance at its concepts. It is like any other science, it requires on our part of commitment. And one thing that he points out is that since Spiritism touches all the issues of interest to humankind, we have to understand that when we are presenting it to people, the belief in a spirit, in the existence of spirits, of course, is part of its foundation. But it's not enough to make a person to become knowledgeable, enlightened as to its content. So just to say, I do believe in the spirits, I believe that the spirits do exist, but so how can we get in touch with them? And how can we have those relationship? And what happens when they are, in the afterlife? So this is the reason why, in terms of Spiritism as well, the question of spirits is secondary and a logical consequence, but it's not, it's a starting point. Let's think, for example, when we are going to be introducing Spiritism to someone that has never heard about Spiritism, according to Kardec, we should never start by just talking about Spiritism and its set of knowledge. We should first try to identify if the person has any understanding or about spirits or the existence of spirits. Because to talk to people that think that life is entirely material, they do not believe in spirits, not even their own spirit. So how can we introduce all this knowledge, all this understanding? So Kardec says that instead of trying to make someone a spiritist, we should try first to make this person a spiritualist. in the sense that the person is going to be reasoning about whether or not the spirits exist and whether or not they are immortal spirits, as it is something that we in the Spiritism do believe. So Kardec advises as well that we should never fall for the false pretense of sincerity of those that say, "Oh, show me and I will believe." It's interesting because I imagine all of you have come through, people that made this kind of comment, "Oh, it's because I never saw it. I never had the chance of experiencing anything. Maybe if I could see a spirit, if I could communicate directly with a spirit, I would be able to believe it." Because this is not a matter of just saying. We know for a fact that many people, they may even go to spiritist gatherings, mediumistic gatherings, and they will leave there with the same disbelief as when they first went to this place. So Kardec says that when we are talking about materialists, there are two classes that should be distinguished. One is what he calls the theoretical materialists. According to them, there is nothing beside matter. Matter is everything. And once this physical body goes into a process of decay and dies, there is nothing else. Fortunately, it seems that there are not many people who have this firm belief that this is it, and not even, the existence of soul. But even then, Kardec makes a remark saying that if we could present to them something that could be more on the rational part, we would be surprised with the eagerness that they will be inclined to accept that. A second category of materialists that Kardec lists is one that he calls the materialists out of indifference, for lack of anything better, so to speak. So in them, there is a vague aspiration for the future, but such a future was shown to them in colors that they cannot, in reason that they cannot accept. So that's why they doubt. Again, according to Kardec, if we come and present to them something that reason will not contradict, then we would have them more inclined to go and further understand about Spiritism. In spite of that, Kardec also lists two other classes. One that he would classify as being the third category, that is what he calls the ill will disbelievers. Those are the kind of people that, they do believe, they think it's, it's reasonable. The ideas seem to be very convincing, but you know what? I'm not ready to commit to that. I'm not ready to leave my comfort zone, my material pleasures, and actually to engage in the pursuit of something more spiritual. And of course, there is another category that he called the interested disbelievers or of bad faith. So again, they know, they think it's reasonable, but deliberately they put it aside because it doesn't serve their purposes. So it's a bit different from the previous category, because the other one is just, I'm too happy the way I am. This one, they know that it's logical, but it goes against their personal interests and how it can get in the way of their pursuing their goals with a more materialistic view. Kardec also talks about the faint-hearted disbelievers. I mean, people that lacks the courage. They are kind of, worried about what is going to happen. Maybe, what people are going to be talking about me, that people that also another kind, it's the one that are disbelievers due to religious prejudices, and because they were raised in a different religion and now they kind of do not want to change their ways. Others that, just for the spirit of contradiction. One category that is very, very sad, I think, this category that we can find disbelievers because of a disappointment. Sometimes people go too strong. They pursue their, this spiritual path, the spiritual knowledge, but they are not cautious. And so they do not wisely distinguish between people that are really committed with a serious purpose and others that just want to explore the people that can be considered, according to them, very naive. So in this case, many people, we may see many that, having pursued spiritual knowledge in the first place, have given up due to disappointments with people that were representing what they thought to be something serious, but they were not actually. So those that are undecided, I don't know exactly what to do. And so I think it's very important when we think about it, because Kardec is presenting to us different reasons why people may not, give themselves to a serious pursuit of understanding spirituality, of understanding their spiritual nature, of, equating the idea that they are much more than a physical body, that they are soul, that they are an immortal spirit. And it's very important that the approach that Kardec has, because Kardec, he went through Spiritism and all this knowledge and this understanding with a methodology. He was researching, he was doing this, kind of experimenting with different mediums, with different groups, with all the communications that were directed to him. So he was always gathering and comparing information in order to come to the senses of what we have today presented by the codificators. But let us talk now about those that, here he presented everyone that for whatever reason would not be interested in any kind of spiritualist knowledge. But now he talks about those that, they say, okay, Spiritism seems to be reasonable. I like the logic behind of it, all of it. And I'm going to pursue this knowledge. I'm going to commit myself to study and to get to know more about Spiritism. But even then, Kardec makes a classification of those that consider themselves Spiritists. So Kardec says that we can find 4 different categories. Mostly he emphasized the first 3 categories, but there is a 4th category as well that we will be commenting to you. The first kind of spiritist that he says that we can, get in touch with is what he calls the experiential spiritists. And he explains those experiential spiritists as being those who purely and simply believe in a spirit manifestation. And for them, Spiritism is simply a science of observation, a series of more or less curious facts. So those are the people that are more interested in the phenomena than what is behind the phenomena and what they can gather from the phenomena, even in terms of, their moral ethical moral improvement. So those are the ones that will just be interested in participating in gatherings where they can see phenomena happening, the apparition of spirits, communication, everything that is going to satisfy their curiosity. So this is what Kardec says, experiential spiritists. The second category is what Kardec says, imperfect spiritists. He calls imperfect spiritists those that, they go further than just being interested about the phenomena. They understand its philosophical side, but they do not practice it. The influence of all the moral aspects, all the philosophical aspects to them is insignificant or practically in existence. So they don't change their habits. They do not deprive them of anything, any single enjoyment. So they keep on living their lives as before. So they go, they gather whatever they can get to, to try to make their lives better, but they do not allow spiritism to take root in themselves. And the third kind is what Kardec calls the Christian spiritists. Those who do not just admire spiritist morality, but also practice it and accept all its consequences. Kardec was very much criticized because people at his time, and maybe even today, would say that he was very religious, that all the time he was talking or trying to accommodate to the religion of his time, that was the Catholic Church that prevailed in France, in Europe at that time. And so that's why he classified here as being Christian spiritists. But it's very important to point out that this is not something that comes from Kardec, but from the communications and contact with spirits that over and over and over is stressed through their communications that what we are pursuing here is not a religious box per se, but we are looking for the morality that Christ brought to us. And because of that is when, once the Medium's book was finished, Kardec started dedicating himself to the gospel according to Spiritism. So here we are not talking about the Christ, we are not talking about a particular religion, but we are talking about the moral behind everything and the moral that we can find in the teachings of Jesus. And the fourth category that Kardec explains in this case is what he calls the extreme spiritists. And he starts by saying that, as in everything, exaggeration is harmful. So those are the kind of followers that he says that are more harmful than useful to the cause of Spiritism, because they behave in a very radical way, presenting signs of fanaticism. They do not scrutinize. They do not go that deep in terms of the studies. Their judgment is very much flawed, and they are very easily exploited by because of their credulity and naivety. Those are the ones that if I say, I just got this wonderful message from the spirit, this person will not be interested in knowing what spirit was, whether I'm really a good medium or practitioner or not, or the morals behind it is just, it's a message from the spirit, so it has to be true. So this is what Kardec calls the extreme spiritists. It's interesting because when we study this part of this chapter, the methodology, we can make a kind of a parallel with the parable of the sower. So here, is when we have the farmer sowing the seeds. So here we are sowing the seeds of Spiritism, and in the same way that the seeds fell into 4 different terrains, here we see exactly those kind of terrains. So we could say that the first one, the seeds that fell along the path, the birds came and ate them up. We could say that those are the experiential spiritists, very superficial, only led by curiosity. So it's very easy for everything else to deviate them from their path. The second one is when they fell off on rock places. So they didn't have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. The sun came up. The plants were scorched and withered because they had no root. Those are the imperfect spirits. So they have the possibilities. They receive the knowledge, but they don't allow it to make root on themselves because they are still much more with a view of their material pleasure, so to say. And other seeds that fell among thorns and grew up and choked the plants. We can say that those are the extreme spiritists. They choked the ideas because of misconceptions, erroneous ideas, and because they were too naive. So although they were growing, they were surrounded by people that would prevent them to go through, to the right paths that could actually bring in them enlightenment. And of course, the one that fell on good soil and produced the crop, the Christian spiritists, because they practice and accepted all its consequences. So it's very important for us to think about it. And in this part as well, Kardec says that there are plenty of people just asking to receive the light. And so it is not worthwhile to waste time on those who reject it. When we read that, we remember that Jesus said to us once, do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. So here Kardec is saying to us, there are so many people that are just waiting for the right word, for the right moment, for them, to click and to start their spiritual path. So let us address, he says, to people of goodwill, whose number is greater than we imagine, and their example, once multiplied, will actually go and multiply among other people. So Kardec finishes this chapter emphasizing the need to read, to learn to use reason. And he says, those who wish to know everything about science must necessarily read everything that is written on the subject, or at least the main topics, and not limit themselves to a single author. So it is so amazing what Kardec explains in this chapter, and especially in this item, that is item 35, because he says the following: they should even read the pros and cons, the criticism as well as the praises, and learn about different systems in order to be able to judge by comparison. In this particular respect, I do not advocate nor criticize any book, lest I would influence in any way the opinion that can be formed on it. It is not for me to be judged or to take sides, and I do not have the ridiculous pretension of being sole provider of enlightenment. It is up to the reader to distinguish between good and bad, true and false. That is amazing, because he's inviting us, saying, go read, do your own research, use your reason, use your logic. And it's not me that is going to be, here doing something to change your mind or to direct what or what not you should read. but we have to have that. And this is exactly what he proposes on the following chapter, that we are going to be giving you some of the highlights of this chapter as well, that is called the theories. Is exactly, analyzing everything, because it came to a point in the Spiritism that what happened? Many people, the phenomena was happening everywhere. The turning tables were happening everywhere, the seances, and in so many different places in the world, not only in France. And so many testimonies came and told everyone about the experiences they were having. So it came to a point that the people were saying, okay, we accept that, the phenomena are happening, but we don't know exactly what their causes are. Certainly there is more, there is something more happening, but I'm not so sure if this is spirits, if spirits are communicating. There has to be a more logical explanation. And so they were analyzing the effect, they were accepting the effect, but they were not just so sure about what was causing that effect. And when this happened, when people start saying, okay, I'm convinced, I know things are happening, but it doesn't mean that they are happening because of spirits, the presence of spirits, the opponents of spiritism thought that they found in there an opportunity to counter argument to help, or to make spiritists one not to agree with the other. So they would be provoking a shock among all these opinions. So what Kardec does in this particular chapter is extraordinary, because he writes a whole chapter talking about all the theories that he had at that time, to his knowledge, that he called the theories of negation. So he says that in order to follow a methodical order in the progress of ideas, it is advisable to examine in the first place the so-called theories of negation, those held by the adversaries of spiritists. So he lists several of them, but into each one he presents what were the theory and how they could not actually come to place. So for instance, there is a theory that is called the charlatanism theory, because there were people that were attributing this physical phenomena to any kind of deceit, saying that there was a hoax, that people were provoking that. And Kardec makes a brilliant comment, because he says, of course this is possible. Of course it is possible that people is going to go there and try to fake a phenomena. But it doesn't mean that because we have some fakes, everything else is fake as well, that nothing is happening in this case. There were people that were saying that, presented what was called the insanity theory. So Kardec says, just to say that people that were calling others insane, so they were admitting that they had the sole privilege of having common sense. So it doesn't justify as well, especially because we were seeing people engaging in spiritism, mediums that were committed to spiritism, but one could not doubt that they were in their sound mind. So they went to try to explain as being a theory of hallucination. So everything was just something that happened, and everyone that witnessed this kind of phenomena was in a kind of process of hallucination. And this is not like Kardec says. How can this be possible? Again, with so many phenomena happening. Then one that is very interesting, there is even a drawing of the Fox sisters that when they started, as we just to remind us, the Fox sisters here in the US and the state of New York, and March 31st, 1848, when the phenomena started happening, you know, and the knockings and rappings. Of course, phenomena existed before, okay, but this is the starting point for all this spiritualist movement, and therefore spiritism to start becoming more knowledgeable, and people start getting more interested about, you know, the communication in between the two worlds. So there is a drawing where doctors and other people would go to their home, and while they were experiencing the phenomena, they would be holding their legs, because there was this theory that was called the cracking muscle theory, that they would say, oh, the rappings are not rappings, they are, you know, the knockings, one for yes, two for no, and no, this is just the muscle, you know, the voluntary or involuntary contractions of the tendon of the short peroneal muscle. And so they wanted to be sure that this was not happening. So they attributed also another theory, the physical cause theory, saying that it could be because of electricity, magnetism, any kind of fluid. What they could never explain is that, okay, and how can they provide answers or logical, intelligent answers to intelligent questions, you know, because due to electricity or magnetism. Another one is a reflection theory, which means if you're there thinking about something, somehow I'm going to be able to connect with your thoughts, and I'm going to reflect your thoughts. Or another one that is similar is what they call the collective soul theory, meaning since we are a collective soul, it's more like, you know, in a pantheistic idea, what would happen is that we are all connected, and if you come to me with an answer, even knowing with a question, even knowing the answer, I'm capable somehow of connecting with your mind, because we are all this collective soul, and I would be having this possibility. And so, you know, there are so many other somnambulistic theory, pessimistic, diabolical, demonic theory, the multi-spirit, the material soul. So what is extraordinary, like we mentioned here, is the way Kardec goes about all of them, with a very with reason, with a scientific approach of not trying to hide everything that was happening, but on the contrary, saying, okay, you're saying it's not spirit, so I'm going to present to you all the theories that people are talking about, and now use your reason, use your intelligence, and you are going to be having, you know, your opinion. This is the beauty of Spiritism, because it's also inviting us to participate, to not to accept things just because people are saying, you know, oh, this is the right thing to and the truth. No, it is always inviting us to go further and further, even because Kardec himself said, you know, this is just the beginning. And we are presenting the facts that we have now, but if at some point science will come with different facts, you follow science. If there is proof, if there is reason behind all that, let's go and follow science, right? And Kardec finishes this chapter saying that spirits whom we may regard as advanced have not yet been able to probe the nature of the soul. So how could we ourselves possibly do so? Because here, you know, with all these theories, it shows people wanting to know everything. We want to know the nature of God. And here Kardec saying, listen, not even the highly evolved spirits that are getting in touch with us, they are, you know, coming to bring about this set of knowledge that we have through Spiritism. They know. How can we, I mean, still in the level of, you know, inferior spirits could understand all that. So at this point, it would be a waste of time to scrutinize the beginning of things which belongs to the secrets of God. So to intend to discover true spiritism, what is still beyond the reach of humankind in general, would be to divert it from its true objective. The essential thing is for humans to apply spiritism to their moral perfection process. Anything else is mere sterile curiosity and almost always implies pride. So here Kardec is kind of saying to us, and we know how much he wanted all this information, if we think about all the questions he proposed to the spirits, but never for the sake of curiosity, but for the sake of learning, of understanding, of, expanding his understanding, and with that, making it possible for others like ourselves today also to have this kind of understanding. But always getting to the most important point of Spiritism, which is to apply Spiritism to our moral perfection. So the sole means of advancing is by morally improving ourselves. And he says that the spirits have only stated what is truly necessary so that men and women may comprehend the future that awaits them and thus be encouraged to practice goodness. So this is the invitation of Kardec in this chapter, and like I told you, we just try to bring some highlights. It's very important for us to pay attention, especially to this first part of the book, because many times we just jump to the, out of curiosity, we jump to the types of mediums and all of that we have on the second part of the book, and we miss this precious knowledge and understanding that is crucial for us to have, and in this sense, for us to better understand the mind of this great codificator that is Kardec. And we thank you very much, Kardec, and thank all the spirits that have contributed for this precious book to be among us already for 160 years. So I think we go to the questions now.
Thank you, Jussara. It's interesting that for us who are believers, right, it's interesting to see all those theories and how people can even make it harder theories than the truth is. And it's like, wow, how can you even come up with this? But anyway, very interesting. We do have a few questions. Not sure if we'll have time for all of them, but at least we'll try to address some. I will start here. Is there a correlation of being more evolved spiritually, meaning less materialistic, and the acceptance of the existence of spirituality?
Not necessarily, because, there is one case actually that Kardec talks about, the spiritists that do not even know that they are spiritists. For instance, one of the examples that we talk about it is the example of Dr. Bezerra de Menezes. When he first got the book, and he was reading that on, his way back home, and then his first comment about it was, but everything that I'm reading here is no news to me. It feels like I knew that before. So it's not uncommon for us to find people here that on Earth that, without necessarily belonging to any kind of spiritual, religious, philosophical association, their way of living is living proof of a more morally evolved spirit. So this is not a condition, but of course, in general, we would expect that people that have this knowledge should know better. It should behave better.
That's right. It gets to that explanation of the different kinds, right? The more, at least morally, The more we know, the best we are. We become the practitioners of what we learn, right? Anyway, so let's see another one. Have there been observations in recent times that show more evidence of spirits?
I believe that, all over the world, right? The thing is, not in the way that sometimes we expect or we would like. And sometimes I even joke about it, because I say, even if we were among a spiritist group of people that do believe in spirits, and for a while, and are a spiritist practitioner, if all of a sudden a spirit materialized among us, probably some of us would run to the door, others are going to faint, and very few would stay there to know and to engage in a conversation with spirits. So there is a reason why they are not showing themselves so clearly to us. But I think we can perceive their presence during the day, and the small things that we do. Like, for instance, today I had to look for a file. I have a talk tomorrow, and I had to find this file, but among the millions that I have here, and I said, "Oh my God, I have no idea where this file is, and I need it tomorrow for my presentation." And then the idea just came to my mind, and I thank them very much. So it's more subtle, but they are here. They are present all the time, and to us, or to the majority of us, this is more than enough.
Yeah, thank you. Next one is preoccupation with the phenomena of spiritism, a trap or a distortion when it comes to understanding the content of the codification.
Everything it starts with a process, okay? Even when we talk about, what takes us to a spiritualist or a more spiritual way of life. And sometimes we say that are 3 reasons. One is, because, pain is striking us so bad that there is no other option than to look for something else. Sometimes we just go because of family members or a curiosity. And sometimes, or very few times, because we have a genuine desire to know more, to learn, and to and it's something that is present in our spirit as well. So many people will start with the phenomena, and this is the path that we can see even happening in spiritism. The table turnings, all the phenomena happening, until Kardec went then and said, "Okay, this is wonderful, but it's a whole new science, and I wanted to understand what is behind all that." So there is no problem if this is if the first contact of the person is actually or actually happened due to the phenomena, but do not stop there. Give yourself time, and engage yourself in trying to understand more, because it's only going to bring you many benefits.
Thank you. How could someone deny the existence of a spirit if he or she saw one?
Yeah, this is one of the theories that we presented here that Kardec said, right? The theories of negation, that people would say, "I'm hallucinating," or something happening, there was something in my water, or my eyes, or sometimes it is not uncommon, and we know people that have witnessed there, that have been impacted by what they saw, but then when they leave, they start thinking, well, but maybe it could be just a fake, or I don't know. Maybe I was influenced by what others were saying. Actually, sometimes you are influenced by what others are telling you now, because saying, "No, it's not possible. You could not have seen that." So it's. it's incredible there will be people that will say, I'm not even sure if I saw that or not.
Yeah. It's complicated, right? To get. It's interesting how we are able to talk about it. Some people get to, like you said, to the curiosity about something, but then when it gets to the changing our habits, and you mentioned that, I thought it was when it goes to that next level, it is definitely something that we see people stopping right there, right? It's very hard to make the changes. What would you say to really entice people, as your own experience? Would you give us now some of your remarks, or some, you did that already, you said a few things already, but I think it's important to bring it up, not only the studying and understanding about Spiritism, but what is it that could get people interested in pursuing a little farther in understanding it, in your opinion?
I think it's each time more, life has been inviting us to open our eyes and to start looking for different answers for things that we have been seeing. I mean, we are surrounded by differences, by suffering, by happiness as well. But the thing is, we don't stop that much to think about the reasons why we go through all that. Let's look at what we are living right now. It has been an invitation for us to first of all, to see ourselves as absolutely equal. There is no distinguishing here whether you are male, female, or whatever gender, or or your preferences in terms of beliefs, nationality, or the language you speak, the country you live. We are all vulnerable to a virus, to a situation, and we are all going through struggles in relation to that, and that would be an excellent opportunity for us to start thinking about the lessons we can learn from this, and our role in the world. And I mean, in my case, thank God, I found those answers very early in life, and well, yeah, and it's right what he says here. It's not because we know the address, we know where the stair is and how many steps we have to go up, that it makes things easier, because it's a process. And sometimes I believe we are trying to make more than we are capable of, and when we do that, we simply give up. So my advice to myself is the one that I can give to you. There will be times in our lives that things can be very, very hard, very difficult for us to overcome, but we should never give up, and we should never give up hope and understanding that as immortal spirits, there is so much more to come, and there's so much more to come. Maybe something very big, beautiful, and noble, because the more I grow, the more I will be attracting this kind of experiences to my life.
That's great. Thank you, Jussara. Yeah, it's a good advice, especially at this time that we're all going through. I mean, it's perfect. There has to be something beyond this, right? And if you're still not there, that's a good time to stop and think about it. Thank you very much for the presentation, for the studies. And now we are going to thank our spirituality. It's about the end of our life. It's a good start for us to get curious and keep going and studying and learning every time a little more. Thanks. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to invite Peter Yeah, thanks, Peter, to again come back and now be the representative of our own gratitude of all this learning and everything that is ahead of us to learn more. And I would like, before he does our prayer, I'd like to tell everybody a little secret that Peter is going to be one of the speakers in our event on the 27th and 28th of March. So it's nice that he's already here. You guys already met him, and I hope to see you then. So before we completely finish here, we are going to ask Peter to do the final prayer. And don't go away, because we're going to invite you for the next live on these reflections on the Medium's book before the end. Thanks. Thanks, JUSSARA.
Okay. Let us close our eyes if we are able to. Let us take a moment to be in the present. We thank you, dear God. We thank you, dear Jesus, for this knowledge. We are thankful for this opportunity to reflect on the subject of today. May this knowledge spread. May our imaginations encircle the planet. May we, in this era that we live in, do our best to spread positive ideas, positive vibrations, positive healing energy to everywhere on the planet. May each of us do our best each and every day to work on our missions, to try to understand a little bit more today than we did yesterday, who we are, why we're here, and what it means to be alive. We are thankful for life, dear God. We are thankful for the opportunities that you give us through life. Please bless our families. Please bless our friends. Please bless all of the opportunities that we have and the gifts that we have received. And may peace spread everywhere. And may all of us make fraternity among all brothers and sisters a cornerstone of our lives. Amen.
So thank you for everyone who watched this live and shared this moment with us. Remember that on March 22nd, we'll have our next live of this series with Alexandra Gomes and Claudia Lucas from Portugal in the sequence of the studies of the Medium's book. Make sure to join us, and let's remember next live will be from Portugal and will be in Portuguese. So I hope you all learned a little bit like I did, and I'll see you next time, and have a great, great evening. Bye-bye.